It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. John, how'd you like that commercial? Did you like that commercial?
I can't even imagine the consulting fee you have to pay to your son for that content. You have to write him a fat royalty check every month because he's the originator of that content.
Okay. This is the B block, the Bravo block. And what we do in the Bravo block, what do we do, John?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
Just like you never left. You just nailed it, John.
I didn't miss a beat.
You just nailed it, okay? Once again, ladies.
It's time for Brad's Top.
And we start off with...
It's number 3.
I am a little bit conflicted here about what, and I should do an extra, but I'll just nail it down to 3. The story that the Hoffmans are buying into Lee Enterprises, which is the owner of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. John, you saw this, of course. I know you did, right?
No, it was on my website a week ago. You mean that story? Yeah.
Right. Okay. Your view of this, because you've become very pro-Hoffman as far as I know you're always mentioning the Washington, Missouri, and all their great reporters they got out there.
Yeah.
You're all for this, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So if I recall correctly, he's now officially the chairman of Lee Enterprises. Is that correct?
Right. He's the chairman.
Okay, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I think the challenging thing for the Hoffman family of companies is that they're so diversified. They seem to acquire a business a week. So I follow them on LinkedIn, the cringe platform known as LinkedIn, and they seem to acquire a business a week. They do have a huge team. Now, I will say, I think they do a good job with the Missourian. I think the Missourian reporting is great. I mean, here's the thing, though. Does the Post-Dispatch have anywhere to go but up in terms of circulation? And I know that sounds rhetorical, but look at their subscription numbers for print. Look at what their product has become. I mean, if you're a turnaround guy, this is the place you want to start.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, and the interesting thing is and I read a couple different sort of viewpoints of this. And the Hoffman family of companies owns quite a few newspapers, but almost all their newspapers are in 2 categories of areas, either a luxury area or I think they just bought like the Aspen Times and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just going to say Aspen, Brad.
Yes, or they're in tourist areas. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I don't think Washington would be considered maybe that would be considered a tourist area. I don't even know if it's that much of a tourist area. It's not luxury area for sure. But the Post-Dispatch, and you make a good point because they've got issues. And by the way, I read something in that article. They talked about that. Didn't they say they were moving the printing plant to Columbia, Missouri? Isn't that what they said?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I believe they did that a while back.
The article I read said they moved it to Peoria.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes, I saw them.
During breaker, when we get a moment, I'll look that up. You're right, though, Brad. I could have swore they said that they were going to print the paper in Columbia and then ship it back to St. Louis.
That's what I thought. But yet, the article I read about the Hoffmans talked about that the paper's already being printed in Peoria. And I don't know. It's just sort of crazy stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I guess my problem that I have is up close and personal with the Hoffmans is a lot of fanfare and then not much follow through. And you can talk to anybody in St. Charles County in the Augusta area. They bought everything in sight, and now they're selling everything in sight. They just sold the Dutso Deli. Somebody else just bought that. They sold their little place they were going to run helicopter rides out of. They sold the Emmaus home, all the stuff they bought, and, the hotel they promised, the golf course, the amphitheater. Guess what? No hotel, no golf course, and that 12-hole golf course because according to, what's the guy's name is, Don Simon. According to Don Simon, it's a 12-hole golf course. All golf courses are 12 holes. They never built. And I that's what bothersome to me.
And Brad, one new element that I don't think we've ever discussed and why I think the Post-Dispatch might be different than a Hillerman nursery or than a biker bar or any other business is that maybe if you have something that's as high profile as the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that people actually pay attention to, that's different than buying a biker bar or a bike bar, whatever you want to call it, or a local business in Washington. And if it goes under, you think, okay, 100 people will care about it. Whereas if the Post-Dispatch goes under, people will know, it will be embarrassing. It will be a testament to the fact that you really can't turn around a business. You get what I'm saying? Maybe the Hoffmans are going to put more resources into something that gets more fanfare, versus something on the banks of the Missouri River.
Well, it could be interesting. And quite honestly, I wish the Post-Dispatch well because of the fact that they still do, and I know some of my conservative friends go, I can't believe you complimented the Post-Dispatch. They still do a good job of reporting. They've got good reporters. You mentioned their people all the time.
They have some, correct. Yeah.
Yes, they do a good job. They cover the area, and to the point where if you pull away the Post-Dispatch, let's be honest, there ain't nothing left. And I don't care what you say about St. Louis Public Radio. With 34 reporters, they should be covering when there's a new crack on I-70 at the Natural Bridge exit. But no, they don't do anything. Matter of fact, over the weekend, over the holidays, I think there were like 5 news stories that went up in like the last week. I think to myself, God, what a cush job being a reporter at St. Louis Public Radio. I mean, except for Jason Rosenbaum. Matter of fact, I'm changing the Jason Rosenbaum theory. It's not the 80-20 theory. It's not the 95-5 theory. It's the 98-2 theory. That 98% of the journalism done by St. Louis Public Radio is done by 2% of the staff. That's Jason Rosenbaum. How's that, John?
I think that you're ignoring the Hamburg Bureau. And you consistently ignore the great work that they produce. But other than that, you're pretty accurate.
Okay, ready for number 2?
Yeah, give it to us.
It's time for Brad's number 2. It's time for Brad's number 2.
I forgot to mention this edition of the Brad and John Show is January 5th. It's a Monday. We're back at it. Okay, the reason I think that's important is there's a press conference that's scheduled, I believe, for 10 o'clock this morning with the Minnesota governor. Do you know about this, John?
Yeah, and in fact, listening to Westplex Talk 104.5 this morning, I heard that Tim Walz has something to say about 2028. What is he expected to say?
He's not going to run for re-election.
You can't believe that. A short little gay midget who oversaw Somali daycares isn't going to run for re-election?
John, see, since you and I were off the air, this Nick Shirley thing to me is absolutely positively fascinating.
It's right up your alley.
Here is a young guy, 28 years old, and he goes in and does this investigative reporting. And he's got some guy he's teamed up with who's some data freak who's got all these reports. He's got all these reports printed out. And the interesting part of it is, John and I'm going to betray a confidence. John told me before we got on the air that he got a new consulting job and he said, now don't talk about this in the air, Brad. And I go, John, I don't know if I can hold it in. I just got to let it out, John. Yeah. John has a new consulting job. He's going to go to Minneapolis, a matter of fact, maybe even this afternoon. And his new job is consulting all the Minneapolis, St. Paul daycare centers on the spelling of their signs. He's going to
Yeah, no more Learing centers is my motto.
He's going to personally audit all the signs. So,
by the way, you can tell that was never up in Warren County because you would not have been Learing and Wendy Nordwall.
Well, see, this is what's sad to me about the current state of journalism, okay? It's called, matter of fact, it reminds me of the old days of when I used to work with, a long time ago, John Auble. John Auble, for a short period of time, worked at the old KSLQ when I was there. John Auble was an old school, let's call him a shoe leather reporter.
He had a trench coat and he was fat and grumpy.
Right. And when John was covering a story, he showed up in person, knocked on doors, talked to people, and things like that. Whereas now, the current generation of journalists, not all of them, but quite a few of them, sit in their cubicle and write stories. Am I exaggerating, John?
Nailed it, Brad. The overriding bias is not liberalism, it's laziness.
Right. They're not out knocking on doors, and they're not out doing investigative reporting and stuff like that.
And before you get back to Minnesota, let's put a caveat there. Austin Huguelet from the Post-Dispatch was the one that uncovered a number of the St. Louis Development Corporation shady phantom businesses. So let's give credit to Austin there. But you're right, Brad. For the most part, reporters sit at a cubicle at their computer and they don't want to go out and talk to people.
Well, and let's give credit where credit was due, and it's sort of sad. I miss the Riverfront Times because Riverfront Times did some great investigative reporting. And remember, the Riverfront Times tracked the stuff going on in North City where somebody was buying all the property up in North City, and nobody else was covering that except for the Riverfront Times, and it turned out to be the whole crazy McEagle thing with
Paul McKee
and the North Side redevelopment, the whole bit, and they would routinely post articles about well, this piece of property was sold to this shadow LLC, and this piece of property was sold to this shadow LLC, and nobody else was covering that. And now that they're gone, you have what's left of the St. Louis, of the Riverfront Times over at St. Louis Magazine, where Sarah Fensky and what's his name, Krull, K-R-U-L-L, was that his name?
Yeah, that's correct.
Who do some great reporting, and they're breaking stories. Now, I say once again, nothing against you, Jason Rosenbaum. If you've got a news department with 34 reporters in it, how come you aren't breaking stories? Oh, that's right. They are breaking stories. They're talking about the new restaurant that's going to be in the Grove on Manchester, right? Isn't that what they're talking about, John?
Oh, yes. They have specialty cocktails. You can go there and swirl your IPA around.
Now,
you know the only downside of the Somali daycare story?
What's that?
Well, if they actually stop counting phantom children at this daycare, did you know that Minneapolis and Tulsa will no longer be the 47th biggest cities in the state of Missouri? The good news is the Westplex will beat Minnesota by a wide margin.
Okay, so here's the other interesting aspect of the Nick Shirley story. And once again, there's two different things here. First off, it came out that, and this was reported on CNN, that you ready for this, John?
Yeah.
Nick Shirley is a virgin.
Yeah, I saw that, Brad. Good for him.
I'm going like, so what does that have to do with anything? You know what I mean? I mean, like...
Well, he talks about his faith a lot, right? And
right.
He mentions that he doesn't drink. He doesn't chase women, right?
He's not a smoker. And the other interesting aspect of it was CNN interviewed him. Did you see this?
No, I don't think I saw this.
Oh, my God. No. This reporter is like going off on him. Now, how do you know this is not the way it is? Blah, 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 blah. And then they had her doing like a thing. She's out in the field and she's talking to the anchor at CNN and they're going like, well, he showed up at times when there were no people there. Okay. Well,
I know. That's their angle now, right? Like,
right.
He showed up at the wrong time.
Okay, John. If you wanted to cover a daycare center, and you've got some younger kids, and I don't know if they've ever been in daycare before, but if you were going to cover the fact that something's going on in a daycare center, wouldn't you show up like at 10 o'clock in the morning? Like what?
Absolutely. You go actually anytime between about 6 a.m. and 6 p.m.
And they're accusing him, well, he went there where no children were there. It's a daycare center. By the basic word, it's called daycare, which means...
And Brad, I think that the cat, sorry to cut you off, but like the cat is out of the bag in terms of he did such a good job documenting this. Normal people, even who choose to live in the state of Minnesota, see what was going on there. And there's no way Tim Walz can explain this.
Well, I think that's the whole thing. And the other thing was, I love the internet. There's a video of one of the daycare owners complaining about how they'd hardly make any money and it's such a tough thing and they're not really scamming the government. And this is a video I saw. They do a stop frame and they circle the guy's glasses. Okay, this is a daycare owner. They circle the guy's glasses.
Yeah, and what kind of glasses were they, Brad?
Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen this?
I do. They were at least $600 glasses?
No, they were $3,000 eyeglasses.
$3,000. It was the guy that looks like a gayer version of P. Diddy.
Right.
Like if P. Diddy didn't eat for a month,
and
that was this guy.
And they showed, unless these are knockoffs, they showed these designers' eyeglasses that are $3,000, and the guys, we don't make any money, we don't know what to do, we have such a tough existence. I'm going like, oh yeah, come on.
Now, in his defense, he needed the glasses because he's the proofreader for the Learing School.
Right, the Learing Center. Have you seen? That's taken on a life of its own.
You can buy merch.
Yeah,
you can buy Learing Center merch.
And you know what? Can I tell you this? When that came out, I went right away to GoDaddy. Somebody already bought the LearingCenter.com.
Oh, no. That's a great idea, Brad. Snatch up that domain. It's almost as if they relied on, I don't know, AI to write it, right?
It's gone. Okay, we're ready for number one?
Yeah, give us number one.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
Sean, I'll be honest, I haven't really checked your website for the last couple of days, but have you, in the last couple of days, followed up on the Matthew Thornhill story?
Yeah, it was from, I think the last update was probably Thursday or Friday in the Post-Dispatch.
Man, I feel sorry for Matthew Thornhill. He got the heave-ho. I mean, the Supreme Court essentially said, we're not doing this 6-month suspension thing and then 18 months and you're out. You're out right now. So Matthew Thornhill, according to the Missouri Supreme Court, has been giving the sorry, but your last day of work, you already had it. And he's gone. And I sort of feel sorry for the guy. You know, I told the story about how I had a case with him. I was in court the very first day when he was a judge, the very first day of him being a judge, and people were laughing at him because he was so goofy. He was just so goofy. And we go out in the hall when there was a break, there was a recess. We go out in the hall, and the bailiff yells at us, "Now listen, this is his first day on the job, and I guarantee you that your first day of the job, you aren't doing everything perfect. Now, if I hear one person laughing at him, we go back in, I'm going to yank you out of court. You hear me?" Everybody went, "Okay."
Don't you think that if you're Matt Thornhill and you deal with Brad Hildebrand your first day, maybe you think that being a judge isn't for you?
To me, it's a badge of honor where in my verdict, where I won my case in front of Judge Matthew Thornhill, he said that, what was it, the term, even though I was evasive and disingenuous at times because of the fact that I had an attorney who was asking me stupid questions and I was making fun of the attorney in front of the judge, that was me being evasive and disingenuous because the attorney was such a D-bag, let's call him.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. I was waiting for your word choice there, Brad. Yeah, Brad, I wouldn't ever describe you as evasive or disingenuous, perhaps rambling or incoherent, but I think he was unfair to call you evasive and disingenuous.
I had to have some coherent thoughts to be evasive and disingenuous, right? Is that what you're saying? So, honestly, I feel sorry for Matthew Thornhill. And see, once again, here we go. It's been on the news all over the country because I've heard it like last week when this story came out. The Elvis judge, they'll call him the Elvis judge. But the interesting part of it was the Missouri Supreme Court ruling didn't really say much about, I don't think they said anything about the Elvis.
It wasn't about the costume, right? It was about political statements.
Right. He apparently talked politics in court in front of various people and stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel sorry for the guy.
He mentioned the world's worst, dirtiest phrase to Brad Hildebrand, YS yard signs. And he didn't know at the time that he would end up doing backup vocals for one of my favorite Brad Hildebrand songs, which was Yard Signs Suck.
Yard Signs
And Brad,
Suck.
yesterday I'll share that I was in the car with Select Offspring, and we heard a John Combest homage song.
Oh, yeah.
And I said to the kids, I said, "Hey, listen, this is that song that Brad did." And immediately, as if from the hand of the Lord, KFUO interrupted in West County and sang, "King of Kings, hallelujah. John Combest fresh is a pod and Lord of Lords, hallelujah, hallelujah."
Let's talk about that. That's one of the C Block things because my case against the Lutheran Church, yes, me, Brad Hildebrand, is partaking in legal action against the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. And there's an interesting thing that's happened, or actually saying there's an interesting thing that's not happened. We're talking about that in C Block, okay?
Yeah, I think in the meantime, people should do themselves a favor. They should go to YouTube. They should search for Brad Hildebrand on an overpass, and they can find some terrific videos of Brad sitting on an overpass, showing the display of his radio and showing the voracious encroachment of KFUO signal into the Westplex. I love those videos, Brad. I could watch them over and over again.
John, are you making fun of me?
No, I love them, Brad. It's my version of adult content. Since Catherine Hanaway got rid of adult content, I just stay up late watching Brad Hildebrand overpass videos.
That was in response to KFUO saying, "Oh, we're not interfering with KSOQ." And I drove around. I spent a whole day literally driving around to various locations where they say, "Oh, there's no problem with us interfering with KSOQ."
And you documented it, and it's on YouTube. Brad,
Right.
I've been gabbing way too long. Let's go to break.
Okay.